Hey guys, welcome back to another Guilty Gear video. Arxis went ahead and released another character starter guide, this time for Ramlethal. And for any of you guys who might be looking for more information and a breakdown on the character, well, I got your back here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over some things you might have missed in the starter guide for Ramlethal, as well as giving you my thoughts, speculations, and concerns for this character, of which there are a few. I'm going to need you Guilty Gear veterans out there to help me out here, because I'm new to the series, and I'm not 100% sure how Ramlethal used to play in previous installments, but I've heard a couple of people who were familiar with the game and series say that she used to be a bit of a setup character. And to be honest, I'm not seeing that in this trailer. Ramlethal is a character who boasts big range and a lot of damage, and the commentator himself states that she excels from medium to long range combat. But a couple of days ago we received some gameplay footage where she fought Axel, a premier zoner in this game, and she got absolutely demolished by his range. So I'm not sure how well she really excels at range when she struggled so hard in order to make up that distance. But of course that could just be the Ramlethal player themselves, and in the hands of a capable player, maybe she would have done a lot better. But they begin this character breakdown by showing us this move, Bayonetto, which is just essentially your basic fireball, where she shoots the sword towards the opponent, and if it gets stuck to the wall, it'll explode, adding an additional hit. Now, seeing as you can't recall these swords back to yourself, you have to either wait a set period of time, which ends up being around 6 seconds long, from when we see the green flash of the sword land on the floor to the green flash of it appearing back behind her before you can use the sword again. Or you have to physically go there in order to actually pick the sword up. Now, this being her fireball attack, this is something that you'd ideally want to use in neutral. Not only control the space on the opponent, but also in order to go ahead and get in. However, getting rid of your swords stunts the range of a lot of your other attacks, and makes you end up having worse range for the majority of your moveset, meaning she's no longer going to excel at mid to long range combat if you use these fireballs because, well, she loses all of her range. Now, it seems like a good Ramlethal player will try to balance out the timings between one sword and another sword, using one in order to go ahead and shoot as a projectile while maintaining the other sword on their body, that way they still continue to have their range. And then as they're about to get the other sword back, they can go ahead and fire the second sword and let that one go on cooldown. That kind of seems like the game plan here, but it almost also feels like they want you to be pretty aggressive in this game and get all up in your opponent's face, as an alternate way to pick up your swords is to physically go there and grab it yourself. But even in that distance, a lot of your damage is tied to these swords, and without them, you're not going to be dishing out all that much damage, so getting aggressive and going on the offensive when you don't have your swords does not seem really all that advisable. It almost seems like characters that dish out a lot of damage in this game have some kind of limitation to their capabilities, something in order to kind of rein them back in for balance. Kind of similar to Nagiriyuki, where he's able to dish out absurd amounts of damage, but it's also tied to his blood gauge, and if he fills that up, he loses health. Now, I'm not sure if this is a theme that Guilty Gear tends to follow, or if it'll be a reoccurring theme for really strong characters in this game specifically. I guess we'll have to wait for the other characters and more footage to come out in order to actually make that kind of assessment. Daro's a pretty standard move. You just lunge into the opponent, do an attack, and it's great for combos, great for juggles and other such things like that. Now, this is a really dope overhead move, which actually changes your trajectory if you use it in the air. It also can't be hit by lows, so this is a great way in order to avoid a low attack if you see it coming. Sobrato is a really heavy damage dealing move, but as I stated before, a lot of her damage is tied to the amount of swords you have on your person. And if you end up throwing both swords, you're going to deal a lot less damage and not have as much range. Now, I really love the animation of this attack right here. It's a 3-step attack where you can actually dash cancel out of it. And if you stall the attack just a little bit, each one does progressively more damage, which is really great. Aggressa Ordono is one of those moves that gives Ramlethal a massive amount of range, but once again, if you don't have your swords on you, this move is not going to really reach out all that far. Now, one of these swords swings at a downward angle, while the other one swings at a more horizontal angle, so you do have to be cognizant of what sword you actually have on you, because, I mean, if you're coming in from an aerial approach on the opponent, you might want the sword that actually has a downward angle, that way you can hit the opponent earlier. But if that sword isn't on you, then, well, you're going to miss out on that portion of the attack, or at least it's not going to have as much range, as she's going to use her hand instead. Now, Calvados is a pretty dope looking attack. It's got a great animation, and apparently it does great chip damage. Not much to say here, looks pretty good. If you have any swords that are currently on the field out of your possession, when you use Calvados, you'll get those swords back. So that's at least a plus. I guess that's one way in order to manually call your swords back, but that hardly seems practical as it does cost some of your attention at the bottom of the screen. Mortobalo is another one of those attacks. It's got a lot of damage, looks pretty dope, but this one's a lot more close range, and once again, the damage is tied to your actual swords that you have on you. So if you're missing a sword, you're not going to do as much damage. Overall, I'm really interested in Ramlethal. I mean, she was one of the characters I was really looking forward to, but hearing a lot of older Guilty Gear players say that she used to be a setup character, and now we're not seeing any of that, as she can't physically put her swords where she wants to, and then do attacks with them, it seems like her screen control and other such things has been kind of crippled in this game. Now, once again, I'm going to reserve judgment until we actually see, the beta come out and people start to explore the character a lot more. But when we look at the footage with Axel, you figure she would have done at least some of that if it was in the game. So the fact that she didn't go ahead and do any set play at all whatsoever as far as setting her swords on the screen against Axel is a little bit disheartening for the character, when she used to be able to do that in the past. Their claim to her being able to excel at long range and then her being completely bodied by another long range character also seems a little bit weird to me, but there's absolutely no shadow of a doubt that her attacks do have a large amount of range, that much is true. Overall, I'm still excited to see more about this character, I'm still excited to explore them myself, and they still look sick as ever. But that's just the perspective of somebody who's never played a Guilty Gear game before. So in the comments down below, let me know what you think about Ramlethal. Whether you're new to the game or you have more experience in the game, I'd love to hear your thoughts on him. It'd be good in order to get that different perspective on her. Check it out, if you guys enjoyed today's video, remember to hit the like button, it helps out a bunch, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. We come out with daily content, with both Dragon Ball FighterZ and Guilty Gear content. If you don't want the fun to stop here and you want more fighting game content, why not check out this video here on the left hand side of your screen? It's one I think you'd really enjoy. And the one on the right hand side of your screen, well, that's one YouTube thinks you'd like. As always, I really want to thank you guys for watching to the end. It really means the world to me. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, but until then, have yourselves a wonderful day.